Well, hello and welcome to the Leverage 3 podcast. This is the show that helps you leverage the talent and tactics of high performers. I'm Craig Shoemaker, and today's guest is Virgil Brewster. Virgil helps entrepreneurs monetize their minds with courses, and in the process, he's built a $10 million course creation business. Virgil, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Craig. Thank you.
It's so great to have you here, and I got to say, you've got one of the best views of anybody on the internet.
Yeah, it's a shame that in Bali it's dark now. That I would love to turn the camera around, but then you will look in this black hole, right? So,
right.
Bali is fantastic. The views are amazing. Life is incredible. People are incredible. So, for sure, it is a great place to live your life.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've interviewed hundreds of people all around the world, and I think you are my inaugural guest from Bali. So I'm really happy that it's you.
I'm proud of that. I'm proud. Yeah, it's great. Living abroad is something unique. It is a great way of expanding your lifestyle, trying different things. So I would say everybody, if you think about it or you dream about it, go live abroad, even if it is for a year. It will be incredible. It will change your life for sure.
Yeah, I bet. Well, speaking of life and changes and everything you've experienced, I mean, you've had this incredible journey of building up a course business and building courses for other people to where you've achieved some ridiculous amounts of success. And so I just wanted to kind of dive into that a little bit. So when you're looking at people or companies that you want to work with courses, like how do you know when people are ready to be able to build a course and make something out of it?
Yeah, it's a good question. Well, first of all, you always need an audience if you want to launch a course. There are many entrepreneurs and creators out there who are really craving for attention, and they say, okay, I'm ready, I'm going to bring out a course. But you need an audience. So for me, if I work with people, I look at how big is your audience. And don't get me wrong, you don't need tens of thousands of people. One of my mentors used to say, if you have 1,000 raving fans, you're going to do incredible. So if you have up to 2,000, 3,000 followers, you have a good base of package your knowledge and launch a course, so to speak. Yes. And
so that base is really important. Now, I know sometimes people fall into the trap. They sort of build an audience. I don't know if the wrong way is the right way to put it, but how do you gauge the temperature on people's following and their audience to know whether or not they're dialed in right?
Yeah, there are many ways of doing it. But first of all, you need to establish, the number of followers is more like a number. I can go out there and do a lot of giveaways. I can do a lot of things to attract people towards me fast, and then those people leave. So the gauge to see if an audience is fit for a course creation and then after that a course launch is how is the relationship that the creator has with his audience. How responsive are they? How much are they responding to the content that is put out there? And I've seen accounts, let's use Twitter as an example here because we all live on Twitter nowadays. I love that platform.
Right. So do I.
Yes, I love it. But you see their accounts that are hundreds of thousands big and you see the engagement is really low. And then you see like accounts that have 3,000, 4,000 followers, but those people are highly engaging. And that's enough to investigate if your idea will work with your audience. That's the next step, obviously. But that's the way to judge basically if an audience is ready to buy. Is it prepped to buy, so to speak? So that's one of the ways of looking at it. Secondly, it is important that how did this creator gained those followers? In what way? There are many ways of gaining it, but I prefer like a slow growth. For example, you have creators like Kieran Drew who built an audience over 3 years' time and then eventually start monetizing. Now, in my world, I like to do it a little bit faster, but you want to be faster, right? But the idea or the concept of the way he thought about it is really nurture that audience first. So really build a relationship with them and then go. So that is one of the criteria that makes or breaks a great course creator, for sure. Yes.
Now, some people are excellent at what they do, and they have skills and they have passions, and they even have a track record of achievement behind them. But sometimes they feel like, I don't know if I'm a teacher, or I don't know if I'm necessarily the right person to build something in order to create a course. How do you deal with a situation like that?
Well, first of all, you need to look at the course industry from a bird's eye view, from a 30,000-foot view. So what is that industry about? Yes, there are a lot of professional institutions who are teaching courses. For example, Harvard has their free business courses and stuff like that. But on the other side of the spectrum, you also have the creator who talks about knitting. And then you think about knitting. Is that something somebody buys? And I'm going to tell you, people buy a lot of knitting courses. It's weird, but it is like that. So first of all, knitting is hard. I've never tried it, but it looks hard. But to get an idea is that when you have a passion for something and you can solve a problem within that passion space, you are great to share your knowledge with the world and package it in a course. Because people like to buy from people. They don't want to buy from a professor or some guy who talks really fancy. They want to buy like people like you and I, you know, who like to talk or like to have a laugh or like, well, a little bit crazy in the head sometimes. And that's what people like. So it all starts in the mind. And that is where a lot of creators sort of fail. Because to build, launch, and sell a course is a tactic. Right? It is. You need to do certain steps in order to validate your idea, to see if people want to buy it and eventually sell it. There are ways you can literally follow the steps. But the problem that arises is always in the mind. And that is where the biggest struggle of entrepreneurs in general starts. It starts in their head, because if you think about it, it all starts in your mind, right? With an idea, like this little pocket of energy that's there, and you believe like, I'm crack and I'm like to create a podcasting course. And yes, I'm going to do it because I'm in love with podcasting. I've helped so many people over the world. So this is what I'm going to do. And you have ground to do that, right? Because you do podcasting from 2005, I understood. So you have the means to do so. And there are people who are way behind you who like to learn from you. So that will work. But then you lay in bed at night. And there you are in your dark lit room, only with your thoughts. And then comes this little voice and says, but crack, nobody will buy this. And then your mind starts to wander off. And that mind is always lying, but you don't. It is so persuasive. It's so real that you act upon those lies, and then that's where people quit. And that's a shame. That's a shame. So a big mindset component in this whole part, what I preach and what I experience in my own journey, which I really like to share with people I work with, but also in podcasts like these or in my tweets. I always say the mind is lying. You see that like a broken record, but it is simply not true, because you can do whatever you want if you only take action.
So, all right, lead us through this here. If you feel comfortable, do you have a time in your life that you can recall where you heard that voice and you almost succumbed to it? But like, what did you do to turn things around?
Well, the funny part is, to lead into this answer, I need to tell you this little story that I was at a mastermind. And at that mastermind, I was a very small fish. I was just beginning, and we started to build success for our business. And next to me was this millionaire guy who made 10 million and 20 million in profit in a year. It was insane. And we did nothing, me and my business partners at the time. So we were like, wow, like with this guy. And then we were really amazed. We were in awe. And
it's good to network up, you know?
Yeah, we really looking up to this guy. And then he started talking. And then we had this lunch. And then he said, oh, shit. I need to launch this new thing, but I'm not sure that people really want it, and maybe I shouldn't do it. And we were looking really amazed at him, like, but hang on a minute. You are doing 20, 30 million in sales and you are afraid to launch a product? So what does it mean is that imposter syndrome, but that basically is what it is on every level. With the beginner, with the intermediate, and the high performer, you always have to deal with imposter syndrome. Well, in order to deal with it, I have it until this day. You know, even if I went on this podcast, I have to be honest with you, Craig. I'm quite nervous. What if I have nothing to say or sit here and with my Bali internet, everything stops and oh shit, and think what this guy doing, you know? So it's normal. And the solution that I found in kettlebell training. And now you might wonder, what has kettlebell training to do with imposter syndrome? Well, I was training at this guy was in his 70s, a 70-year-old guy, super strong, and he was really like this big 2-meter English guy, and he was screaming, and we did kettlebell swings. And for people who are exercising a little, you know, we need to do 10 times 10 kettlebell swings. Terrible. So I was standing there looking at my kettlebell and about to swing, and my mind wandered off like, oh shit, it's gonna hurt. My hands are gonna go like this. And he looked across the room at me, and then he screamed, Virgil, pick up the damn bells, cry later. And I'm like, what? So, okay, I did my thing, and it ended, it was done. And he walked up to me, and then he said, okay, Virgil, how do you feel? I said, yeah, my hands are bleeding. I'm tired, but I feel great. And then he said this to me. He said, you know what? You can cry now. You can cry now what you were about to do. And I was sweating. I was thinking, what kind of madness is this? I just done it. And then he walked away. You learn well, my young Padawan. He was really a Star Wars fan, obviously.
Right.
So he walked away. So the concept of cry later really stuck with me, and I always used it. So that is my solution. So the solution, when imposter syndrome comes up and you had these voices in your head that talking, then use the cry later concept. And what do? You take action. So let's say you need to edit a long podcast of Virgil with all us. And then you think, oh shit, you know, this happened. And then you think, oh shit, I need to do this, and what? Oh no. And then in that moment, you just do it, and then you cry later about it, and then you will see that your mind fears things or hates things or dislikes things that don't deserve your attention at all. And that was for me like mind blowing, and I share this with the world. And yeah, it worked for me, and it probably worked for many other people. So try it. I dare you to try it.
I love that. And I've seen you share that message many times in your feed, and that story adds so much more life to it. Like that, I love the entire concept. That's awesome. So did you cry?
I did cry, but not of doing the I cried of pain in my hands, and so yeah, right? I did cry.
So when I think about all the different ways that you can build a course, I mean, there's so many different options. You could build a course in an email chain. You could host one on a Discord server. You could do a private podcast. You could do a video course. Like there's all these different options you have available to you. When you're looking at working with a creator, how do you know where to pair which avenue or which method with what they're good at?
Well, you know what the beauty is, Craig? Every method works. So an email course works, a video course works. Even I've seen people put only a PDF course out and crushed it. So
yeah,
all those things will work if the content is great. So first of all, you need to understand that how do people learn, right? So people have 3 ways of learning. One, they like to see things. Some like to hear things, and some like to read things. I know there are fancy words for it, but I'm a Dutchie. I have no idea what the fancy words are. But in simple words, I like to read, I like to see, or I like to hear. So think about this podcast, for example. You can put it on while you commute or while you go to training. So those are the 3 important things. So then I look at the creator. What is your personal preference? For you, it's audio, right? It would make no sense for you to create an email course because that is, I, as far as I can know you and see your content, you would do well in audio and video. So I do both. Preferably, I want to do all three because that creates added value for your clients. So people have the chance to read, people have the chance to listen, and people have the chance to watch. So, in short, that is the answer. It's not so sexy, maybe, but yeah, always choose the format that suits you because you are the creator. It's your world, and you decide. You're the boss. So yeah, that's what I always advise people.
I like what works. That's my favorite answer. So yeah.
I should have said it like that. Like what works.
So you have this, whatever works, right. So you have this monster bio, right? $10 million in course sales. That is one of the biggest curiosity loops that I've seen opened in a bio in a long time. So tell me about this journey. Like, was this one course? Is it multiple courses? What was the starting point like? Tell me the story.
Well, first of all, I'm still amazed by it, right? And it started basically over 5 years ago, and I met two business partners. So it was not me by myself. There were two other people involved who we did this together with, and it was only in Holland. So that is the incredible part about it. We didn't went internationally. It was in Holland only. So it all started, what is the base of everything I teach about courses today? Back then we didn't have a clue and it worked. So what did we do? The first thing is we were crazy. We really loved to do something, but we had no clue. We had no clue what to do. The only thing that we really wanted is to make a shit ton of money. That was our thing, right?
I mean, if you're going to do it, might as well do it right.
Do it, but then again, we never had a 10 million mark on a whiteboard or something, and we had no clue what we're doing. So basically, we were reading one book, and the book was called .com Secret by Russell Brunson. So Russell Brunson used a concept called funnel hacking, and we created our own version of it, and we created course hacking. So what we did, we bought all the big Amazon courses and we looked at how do they do it and how they present it. And we created our own version from that. And that was the start of the course. And we started doing that. And then we started selling basically nothing. And that's a concept of what we call sell before you make. Sell before you make is incredible because what you do basically, you go to a bunch of people, your friends, and you say, hi, I have this cool course. It's about selling online. You buy things in China and you can make a lot of money. Do you want to buy it? It costs you 100 euros back then in the day, or 200. I don't know even what we asked for it again. And then people buy it. And then we don't have anything yet, right? And then we say, look, we're going to co-create it together. And so we co-created together with them what they wanted. So all the modules in the course were basically literally their pain points, their problems, and what they want to learn. And until this day, I'm still use that method with all the people I work with because it's very, very simple. So that validation process helped us to get more insights in the problems of our market. And then we started to scale up with ads. So please, you want to ask something?
Yeah. So the validation process and as people pre-sell, I think is a little bit of a mystery to some because it's like, okay, I have this wide spectrum of I can come to people with an idea, or I could come to people with basically the course intact and now I'm looking for feedback. So between those two different sides of the spectrum, where do you like to fall?
I like to go all the way to the left side or the first side of that spectrum because there's a big danger if I spend a lot of time in creating something, what in my mind is amazing, right? Because when you work on something, you believe that you are create the next Avatar 2 movie. You know, I'm going to make something so cool, people are going to love it, they're going to run with it. And the reality is that people will see it and then they think, well, it's nice, but it's not really what I was looking for. So, or you need to understand your audience in such an incredible way, but then you've done the validation upfront already. So basically, I always start with, basically the process is as follows. I start with, I have an idea. Let's say Craig wants a podcast course. So the first thing I'm going to do is find out, okay, are there people who are running into problems with podcast? Well, with common sense, and if you look online, you see they do. How do I start? How to record? What microphone? What head? So you know there's a lot of problems there, right? So you have ground for investigation. That's really important. Ground for investigation, not ground for building your course and selling it. That's not it yet. So you are going to just ask questions in your circle first, and then in a wider social circle where you're going to post questions. You can use Reddit or Quora where you can comment and ask questions, and people will respond. And there you're going to get a lot of interesting data about what are exactly the pain points of people, what is the language that they use, and what do they actually need help with. So that's your first layer of validation. But we didn't stop there, because we learned the hard way. The first version of the course that we did flopped, and we paid a lot of money with ads. So we became more careful with what we put out. So we add a second layer of validation just to save our pockets. And it worked out really incredibly well. So what we did, we interviewed people. And that's a pain in the ass, because you need to go out, you need to reach out to, first of all, you can ask your mom and your friend who doesn't give a shit about, podcasting, and they cannot give you any answers, right? So you need to venture out, and now the first time you need to sell yourself and have a conversation with a complete stranger. Hey, can I ask you some questions? And that is hard, but there's a formula for that. There's an easy way. Build a nice connection and ask the question. Basically human, the way how you talk to a friend, how you don't want to walk out in the street and start randomly talk to somebody. Hey, I have a course in podcasting. Are you interested? The guy going to look at you. What are you on about? You're going to first start like, hey, how's the weather? Yeah, I'm here. Oh, it's very nice. Oh, yeah, what do you do? I live in Bali. Oh, Bali, oh, real? What do you do? Yeah, I do a course in podcasting. Oh, nice. So you really slowly get into it. And then you're going to ask those people a couple of questions. Simple. The first one is, well, do you struggle with podcasting? Validation number one, they're going to say yes. Then you're going to say, have you ever looked for solutions to solve your problem in other courses? What you want to hear is, are they seeking for other courses as well? That's very important, because if they do, the chance that they're going to buy yours is a little bit bigger, right? And then you're going to say something really bold. And you're going to say, hey, let's say I have a podcasting course, Craig's Podcasting One-on-One Masterclass. And
right.
Cool title, by the way.
I like it.
You should do it. Yeah. Craig's Podcasting One-on-One. No, it doesn't really sound well, but okay. What if I have this cool Craig One-on-One Podcasting Masterclass? Would you buy it if I solve everything technically and I show you how to promote your show? And then they're going to say, well, yeah. And then the fourth question is maybe the most important one is, are you willing to pay for it? Well, some of them will say no. Most of them will say yes. But why is this question so important? Because they are going to tell you a price point that you are never going to dream about. And that is weird. Because your mind, remember, is still lying. Your mind saying, oh, nobody's going to buy it, so I make it $10. Yes. Craig's Podcasting Masterclass One-on-One is $10. It's amazing. 24 hours videos, 40 PDFs. I support you every hour of the day. $10.
Right.
That's how creators think. I used to think like that.
Yeah.
So I know.
Right.
And then these people say, what do you want to pay? And then they're going to say like, well, I would pay like $750 for it. And you're like, what? Like, okay, oh, how cool. So, but it gives you an idea about value, the value you present in people's eyes. So that is the way how I would go about validation. I know it's a long answer, but it's really important to go over these steps, because if you don't do that, you're going to lose a lot of time, a lot of energy. Your mind's going to say, you see, it didn't work. I told you, go back to your job. So that's very, very important to validate. Level 1, social circle. Level 2, interviews.
Well, and I don't think that's a long answer. And I think the fact that you point out that the work that's required in the beginning, it's you're going to pay that debt down, like you said, either in the beginning or at the end. So you just have to pick which one is less painful. And I'm going to have to say the one up front is going to be a lot less painful and probably a lot more fun too. And you can always cry later anyway, right?
Oh, you can, of course. You always can cry later. That's the beauty of it.
So when it comes to actually making the sale, right? I know that you've had a fair amount of experience doing this. There's a lot of different options available to you. Like you said, you can do paid ads and outbound. You're working through organic and webinars and things of that nature. Like, what's your philosophy that you use when you approach selling a course?
So I think the best way to answer this question is to approach it from an organic point of view, right? Because paid ads is very straightforward. First of all, warning, don't run your own ads if you don't know what you're doing. You're going to lose a shit ton of money and you're going to burn your budget out in seconds. So the first rule of engagement was in Russell Brunson's book regarding paid ads. When you're going to run ads, hire an agency, let the professionals do it. You focus on creation and your funnel. The rest, outsource. Literally in the book, literally what we did. We took a lot of savings. We said, hi guys, and in the ClickFunnels community is huge. Who's the best ad agency in the world? There are many great ad agencies out there. We picked one and we ran with it and they were incredible. If we did it ourselves for a while and we lost a lot of money, we had no clue what to do. And they came in and they said, you don't have a pixel on your website? Really? We're like, pixel? Okay. So
tell me about this pixel.
Yeah, this pixel, is it important? Well, yeah. So stay away. So that the ad perspective, if you want to do it, outsource. Now let's take a look at the organic way. Because the organic way, you need to first draw attention towards you. Because attention is the new currency. In paid ads, as in organic. So you need a certain way to find and to get attention towards you. So the best way of doing that is start on Twitter and share your stories and your personality. Most of you guys listening now already doing that, I hope. And then you're fine. But it is very important that you make a bridge from Twitter to a newsletter. We didn't in the beginning. We didn't, and we burned very bad. Because we worked on Facebook, and Facebook decided to block one of our accounts, and all of a sudden we had no access to our page, and we had no access to our clients, or to the potential clients. So we were done.
Right.
So then we went to this seminar, and then the first guy walked over and said, the one who don't have an email newsletter owns nobody, owns nothing. It's in the mercy of Mark Zuckerberg and the rest of the world. So we realized that. So in this system, bring them all from Twitter to the newsletter. In the newsletter, you own those people. And then there you can start building relationships with them. And maybe a side note about newsletter. I don't go too deep into newsletter marketing, but always be selling. And I know this sounds really painful. And I know it is. It is the most painful word for many people next to money. Money is evil. Money is... So selling, why should I say? I need to give them away. I need to nurture them. I need to really give them everything. I need to make $10 course. I need to present to them. No. The people on your list from Twitter need to understand that you are selling. And it doesn't mean that you're going to go hard banging, say, here, do this. No, do it in beautiful storytelling, but always at the end of an email, make a certain offer. Even if that offer is sign up for a waiting list or buy my $10 Cracks Podcasting One-on-One Masterclass $10, put it in there to educate and creating a buying environment. And that is was fundamental for us for our growth of doing that. And sometimes we went a little bit too far where we were selling like every second, and that was a little bit too much. So you need to find your way, but keep that in mind, always be selling. And then when you have your people on your list who are raving fans, they love what you do, probably you write in a really cool way, they are going to wait until you're going to launch. And then the launch process starts, and that's another part. But that is organically how I should do it. In a nutshell, create cool content, bring them on a newsletter, build a deeper relationship, sell at the end of every email. Something. Even if it's $1, it doesn't matter. As long as you sell something. Right. Yes, that would be it.
Man, you've shared such amazing insights and content here. And I think what's interesting is you started off talking about mindset of the creator, and you ended up talking about the mindset of your audience, of knowing that you have an offer available and value to provide. And so I think that's just a brilliant way to frame things. And one of the things that I like to do at the end of each show is give you an opportunity to share 3 actionable tips that the people listening and watching can take with them. And you've already given us so much, but I'm curious, like, what would you give us?
So first of all, the first one that's actionable is very simple. Live your freaking life. Because you know what it is? I know maybe you expect like a cool tactic or a cool launch strategy or a cool... The thing is, if you don't live and you don't gain experiences in crazy ass ways or serious ways or in happiness or in adversity, in bad times, that forms your character. And that gives you also a lot of knowledge about a lot of things. And knowledge that you can accumulate over time, you can always use in podcasts like this, in marketing, in building relationships, business-wise or personally. When you have something to tap into, like an information source, it's an incredible resource that will serve you well. And you only get that by living your life. Do crazy stuff. Going out and get drunk. I know I will piss off all the habit guys and all the cold showering guys. I know. You can bring it on my DMs, curse me, haunt me. But go and get drunk, party away, live your life, because your life is short. See it as a little counter that the moment you were born, start running down, and you don't know where it is, and you never know when it ends. So live your life is number 1. So number 2 is a business one, and we talked a lot about it, but it is really important. If you do courses, if you run a podcast, you like to start a podcast, whatever you do, validate your ideas always with your target audience, not with your mom, because your mom is going to love what you do. I promise you.
Thanks, Mom.
Thanks, Mom, and your great advice. Yes, let's build a course. Cracks. Podcasting one-on-one masterclass. Yes, $10. No, so always validate your ideas. And the last one is always be selling. Always be selling. The moment you were born, you started to sell to your mom when you were hungry. You cried. When you were older, you were selling because you wanted some candy and you put that puppy face on. Now that you are a creator, entrepreneur, and you like to conquer the world, you need to sell. It's in your system. It is completely normal. It is completely normal to sell and to earn money. And to close down, before maybe this gets too long, one of my mentors used to say to me, Virgil, listen, you have a duty to sell your knowledge to the world. And why is that? You're not selling to one person. You sell and impact generations. And I was looking at him like, generations, what do you mean? Well, think about it like this. You have one client who buys Cracks Podcasting one-on-one masterclass. And this person's life is going to change. Everything around this person's life is going to change. He will attract money, he will attract abundance, and he will attract great people who will lift him up instead of putting him down. At some point, these people can get children, and they will teach those values that they have accumulated over time to their children, and so on and so on. So you're not selling to one, or you're selling to generations. So it is your duty, and that stuck with me all the time, and I really believe in that message.
Hey, thanks so much for being a part of the show. Let's continue this conversation. Feel free to connect with me on Twitter, where I'm at Craig Shoemaker. So go out and have an amazing day. I hope you get a chance to find someone to love, find someone to forgive, and find someone to encourage, because we are most certainly not in this alone. And I'll see you again here soon on the Leverage 3 podcast.